Giving an overview of the 2023 budget, President Muhammadu Buhari noted that the 2023 appropriation, therefore, is a budget of fiscal sustainability and transition. President Buhari stated this while he proposed 20.51 trillion naira as budget for the 2023 fiscal year to a joint session of the National Assembly on Friday, 7th September 2022. This represents an increase of over 2 trillion naira in the sum of 17.76 trillion naira approved by the National Assembly in the 2023 to 2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper earlier passed by both chambers.
The 2023 budget proposal is the eighth and final budget of this administration. It reflects the serious challenges currently facing our country, key reforms necessary to address them, and imperatives to achieve higher, more inclusive, diversified, and sustainable growth. The expenditure policy of government in 2023 is designed to achieve the strategic objectives of National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, including macroeconomic stability, human development, food security, improved business environment, energy sufficiency, improving transport infrastructure, and promoting industrialization focusing on small and medium-scale enterprises. Against the backdrop of the challenging global and domestic economic environment, it is imperative that we strengthen our microeconomic environment and address subsisting challenges as a country. The 2023 appropriation, therefore, is a budget of fiscal sustainability and transition. Our principal objective in 2023 is to maintain fiscal stability and ensure smooth transition to the incoming administration. Distinguished members of the National Assembly, the 2023 to 2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper sets out the parameters for the 2023 budget as follows. A, oil price benchmark of 70 United States dollars per barrel. B, daily oil production estimate of 1.69 million barrels, inclusive condensates, and of 300,000 to 400,000 barrels per day. C, exchange rate of 435.57 naira per United States dollar. And D, projected GDP growth rate of 3.75% and 17.16% inflation rate. Based on these fiscal assumptions and parameters, total federally collected revenue is estimated at 16.87 trillion naira in 2023. Total federally distributable revenue is estimated at 11.09 trillion naira in 2023, while total revenue available to fund the 2023 federal budget is estimated at 9.73 trillion naira. This includes the revenue of 63 government-owned enterprises. Oil revenue is projected at 1.92 trillion naira. Non-oil taxes are estimated at 2.43 trillion naira. Federal government of Nigeria independent revenue are projected to be 2.21 trillion naira. Other revenues total 762 billion naira, while the retained revenue of the government-owned enterprises amount to 2.42 trillion naira. The 2023 appropriation bill aims to maintain the focus of MDAs on the revenue side of the budget and greater attention to internal revenue generation. sustenance of revenue generation, sustenance of revenue diversification strategy would further increase the non-oil revenue share of total revenues. A total of expenditure of 20.51 trillion naira is proposed for the federal government in 2023. This includes 2.42 trillion naira spending by government-owned enterprises. The proposed 20.15 trillion naira 2023 expenditure comprises A, statutory transfers of 744.1 billion naira, B, non-debt recurrent costs of 8.27 trillion naira, C, personal costs of 4.9 trillion naira, D, pensions, gratuities, and retirees' benefits of 854.8 billion naira, E, overheads of 1.1 trillion naira, F, capital expenditure of 5.35 trillion naira, including the capital component of statutory transfers, G, debt service of 6.31 trillion naira.
On the other hand, Senate President Ahmad Lawan said the House will be committed to ensuring the consideration and smooth passage of the 2023 Appropriation Bill before the end of 2022. He further spoke on the issue of oil theft and floods in various parts of the country. He said,
"Last year, Thursday, 7th October 2021, you laid before this August Assembly the 2022 Appropriation Bill, which was the third in the life of this 9th National Assembly. Today, history is repeating itself. 7th October, the same date, 2022, as last year, you will be laying the 2023 Appropriation Bill. I commend you, therefore, for being timely every year in the last 3 years, before the end of the year, so that it can be signed into law before the beginning of the new year. It is a record that 2020, 2021, and 2022 appropriation bills were considered and passed before the end of the last 3 years. The single senators and honor members are similarly committed to ensuring the consideration and passage of the 2023 appropriation bill before the end of this year by the grace of God. The benefits of the early passage and subsequent implementation of the budget have helped in the provision of infrastructure and other services across the country. Mr. President, our economy is still challenged by dearth of revenues. The main source of revenue to the Nigerian government is oil and gas. We always consider the diversification of our economy as crucial, and it is indeed crucial. The idea of deploying our revenues from the oil and gas to support the diversification into real sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, mining, etc. is now under serious threat. The large-scale and massive stealing of our oil is concerning, as this reduces drastically the revenues available to the government. With conflicting figures, projections have put our losses from this melee at between 700,000 to 900,000 barrels of crude oil per day, leading to about 29 to 35% losses in oil revenue in the first quarter of 2022. This represents an estimated total fall from 1.1 trillion naira recorded in the last quarter of 2021 to 790 billion naira in the first quarter of this year. The situation has worsened. Recently, the loss of our oil has reached 1 million barrels per day. Mr. President, the situation becomes more unfortunate if we factor in the budget deficit estimated at 7 trillion naira and the grim prospect of its increase to about 11.3 trillion naira as presented in the 2023-2025 medium-term expenditure framework fiscal strategy paper. Your Excellency, we can reduce the deficit by stopping the theft. We can also consider other options to source more revenues for government. I believe that it is imperative to review the waivers and concessions government has granted to the tune of 6 trillion naira. In a difficult time like this, some of these waivers may no longer be justified. Mr. President, we note the government drive to address the impact of climate change and reverse its effect. Though complicated and dynamic, we should not rest on our oars in dealing with issues like floods, drying wetlands, desertification, and coastline erosions. The menace of flooding in many parts of our country has been particularly worrisome. It has devastated homes and disrupted families, lives, and livelihoods. We'll need to take proactive measures to tackle this and especially manage our dams and other water bodies to curtail the menace of flooding now becoming a national disaster. Our focus and targets should be on how to prevent these annual floods from occurring in the scale that we experience annually. This year, the floods have not only devastated families, but also destroyed our infrastructure, roads particularly.